Well, they call it, appropriately enough, Fair Saturday, the first day of the Glasgow Fair fortnight, when the whole of the west of Scotland, it seems, ups and goes on holiday. And this, too, is the traditional start for the past 35 years or so of the annual Tobermory Race, a race for small family cruising yachts from here in the Firth of Clyde up to Tobermory in the island of Mull. Tobermory Bay, where a ship from the Spanish Armada sank in 1588 with a fortune in gold. Well, out there in the Firth of Clyde this morning, there's another armada under sail, a fleet of well over 100 small yachts, all getting ready for the starting gun, which will set them off in this unique annual race from the Clyde to Tobermory. It's an all-comers race, and a pretty assorted bunch they are, too. They range in size from little 24-footers to the big thoroughbred racing machines, the International 8 meters. This is what makes the Tobermory Race unique, this extraordinary range and diversity of boats, large and small, new and old, all shapes, all sizes, all types, and all handicapped into 3 classes according to capability. And all types of people, too. Men like yacht designer Ian Nicholson, who built his own boat, St. Mary, which has won the Tobermory before. He takes his sailing much more seriously than someone like David Rombach, a Glasgow engineer who won the race last year in his elegant old ketch Lola. To him, sailing's a less intense affair, whereas for Glasgow businessman Kenny Gall and his 8-meter Christina, the Tobermory is a fierce private duel with the other 8 meters in the race. But for most of the entrants, it's a fairly light-hearted social send-off to a family cruising holiday. The course they'll be sailing takes them through some of the finest water and loveliest scenery in the west of Scotland. It's in 2 stages spread over 3 days. Today they'll go from Port Bannatyne up the East Kyle to the bottleneck of the Burnt Islands, then down the West Kyle round Ardlammet Point and up to Loch Fyne to the finishing point at Ardrishig. Tomorrow they'll coast quietly through the Crinan Canal, and on the 3rd day out into the open sea, across the Firth of Lorne and over to the island of Mull, up the Sound of Mull to the final destination at Tobermory. And what a perfect morning it is for the start of a race. The wind easterly, about 4 knots, coming up on the beam to drive them up the first leg of the race, up the East Kyle. And one of the paradoxes of this particular race is that it's the bigger, faster boats that start first. Now they're all crowding across the starting line, which is about 300 yards long. This is one end of it, the little dinghy here with the flag up. The other at the far end is the Commodore's boat, the Arcturus. Ideal sailing conditions now. And in the background, you have the Class 2 boats, the smaller boats like Lola, which will be starting in about 10 minutes' time, keeping a close eye on them to see which way the wind's behaving. One of the finest starts to the Tobermory that anyone in the Clyde Cruising Club can remember. All sunshine and sparkle, and a spanking breeze to whip the boats up the East Kyle. But for the 8-meter men, like the hard men of Christina, there's no time to enjoy the scenery. The 8 meters, with their massive spread of canvas, are built for speed, not comfort. And if you've got a hangover from the party the night before, that's just your bad luck. But while the Class 1 boats, the heaviest handicap boats, go surging up the East Kyle first to avoid overcrowding in the Narrows, back at the starting line, the Class 2 boats are jockeying into position for their start 10 minutes behind.
White forecast, Ian!
It'll be a long race.
I'm afraid so. Thank goodness we're in Neeps just there. There's not too much stay.
See you in Ardrishik in one of the pubs.
Bet your lads drum will beat your invite. See you in Ardrishik then.
Watch for the gun, Sandra. Watch for smoke. I don't know about that sound. I'm going for the line now. Surely to God the gun's going to go. Right. Leading boat over. Trim for speed. Right. Nice work, everybody. Trim for speed. Watch the mizzen. Nice work, everybody. We're going to be leading boat over. That's all right. Bags of water. That's all right. Well done, everybody. Very nice. If we never did worse than that. Right. Trim for speed. On the wrong course. Well, that's all right.
Well, with under an hour gone, they've had a marvellous run so far, galloping up the East Kyle on a broad reach with the wind on the beam, spinnakers billowing like great balloons in front of them. And now they've reached the Burnt Islands. This is when the sailing gets a little more tricky. Here the wind is inclined to drop, it starts funneling and bouncing off the land, and you have to thread your way through these narrow passages. At this stage, Celia is in the lead, N26, the N indicating a Norwegian registration originally. Y is lying second, but rounding the dogleg at the Burnt Island, she gets into an awful guddle with her spinnaker, running out of breeze at the critical moment, and loses a lot more ground to Celia. Turid, another 8 meter, is lying third. A brave effort this, for earlier in the season she lost her mast and only managed to get a new one up in time for the race by working all through the night. And now, as the Class 1 boats shake themselves free of the notoriously windless channels of the Burnt Islands, the Class 2 boats are beginning to make their approach runs into the Narrows. This section of the course demands a lot of skill and judgment and nerve, and you can make up valuable time on your rivals if you're prepared to take some risks and cut it very fine indeed, like Ian Nicholson on St. Mary.
Never mind, we are going through the water. What about our... Oh, there's a lot of people trying to pinch our breeze, which is a bit rough.
Actually, we're doing not too badly. You know,
No, I don't like the way Lola's pulled out 500 yards on us there. We might be able to take her wind. Yeah.
Do you have a chart of this area handy?
Not handy.
Well, I'll have a look at the big scale chart. I might
Yeah.
have a clue.
If we can hold it another 3 or 4 minutes, we will get the spinnaker right round that buoy. Lola's definitely dropping back. Sandra, would you just keep a check on the echo? That's all right. Let it go. Let it go. I'll try and stay on this jibe. How is it, Sandra?
14 feet, down to 13 feet.
Right.
It's getting shallow.
Yes, keep calling it.
Keep calling regularly.
10 feet.
Right. We'll get panicky at 6.
Yeah, the airport too. You can see the tide eddy.
Yes, I know. I'll try and keep clear of it. Very difficult. How is it now?
Right, it's 8 feet now. It's between 7 and 8.
Right.
It's 7.
It's 7 feet, Donald.
It's been down to 6.
Right, I've got to go out 6 feet.
Right, quick, go out.
What is
It's
it now?
Down to 5.
5 feet.
To 6.
6 again. Right, we're coming out. Well,
7.
7. Right, that's enough for anybody. There's Norella with a broken mast. That means either there's a hell of a lot more wind ahead. No, it's Turrid. It's not Norella. It's a brand new mast only put up today.
That's a young fox in that mast, too.
Yes. Well, that's one of the 8 meters out, well and truly.
Quite ahead. You may have to go outside it.
It was dreadful luck for poor Turrid. And now the wind's filling in from the west, and the 8 meters are herring away down the west Kyle. Christina has pulled away from most of the boats that crowded into the Narrows, and now for the first time the crew can relax a little as they head for Ardlamont Point, right at the tip of the Cowell Peninsula.
Ease a jib. Okay, yeah, fine.
Okay.
Yep. We'll start going now.
This will bring them into Loch Fyne for the final run up to Ardrishig, the end of the first stage of the race once they round this point. The breeze is fitful here, and the boats have to hunt for the wind, and everything can depend on which side of the loch they choose to go. Kenny Gall and Christina gambles on the western shore, as do most of the other 8 meters. A matter of delicate judgment, this. A hint of smoke on the shore, a popple on the water far ahead. But another 8 meter with the unlikely name of If has been ghosting up the farther shore. And when the breeze eventually does spring up, it's from the east, and it's If that pulls ahead of all the rest.
K27 if.
15 hours, 28 minutes, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40.
12 minutes, 32 seconds. And that's a handicap.
That's a corrected time of 6:14:56.
Every second counts in this event. For the swift 8 meters, the backmarkers of the race are giving several minutes an hour to their smaller, slower rivals. This is a race in which the tortoise can beat the hare with the benevolent help of the handicapper.
K16, Christina.
40.
Coming up close now.
45,
K16.
46, 47, 48, 49,
Christina.
50.
Now.
50.
Across the finishing line, Christina furls her sails and makes ready to move into the Crinan Canal. And meanwhile, the Class 2 boats are coming panting up to the finishing line, with St. Mary hard on the heels of Lola.
Where's Lola? She's got about 50 yards to go. I don't know. Yeah.
Lola. 200 C.
Lola coming up!
Now.
38:20.
Okay, Lola's crossing right on the lee end of the line, very close to the... We're not going to be very far behind her. There's going to be very little room for all these boats.
41:20.
169C.
169. St. Mary.
Yes. Now.
41:30.
Right, we're over. Well done, everybody. Thank you very much.
Inside the basin of the Crinan Canal at Ardrishig, the whole mood of this weekend outing changes. The racing is over for the day. From now on, the yachts will be motoring slowly from lock to lock, relaxing, letting their hair down. It's quite an event in the sightseeing calendar of the West to watch the 100-odd boats of the Tobermory Race idling at their leisure through the canal on their way to the Atlantic.
You fairly made up some time after your troubles in the Kyles, boy.
Oh, your
You weren't
boat...
far behind us, you know, in the end.
Aye, but your boat goes beautifully.
Oh, she wasn't bad today, but it was a funny race. There's an awful lot of line at the end. And that wind in Loch Fyne, it was coming from one side, coming from the other. I mean, that wasn't even intelligent guesswork. It was just pure dash luck.
Well, I haven't worked so hard since the last Tobermory Race.
That doesn't say much for your working life.
Actually, you can take yours back.
Right.
You take a wee dram now you're alongside.
Well, I wouldn't say no to
I
that.
never heard you say no before, anyway. What about the rest of the crew? Are they all teetotalers?
No, I don't think any of them are.
Well, let's feed you this.
Desperate.
You want water with it?
No, thank you.
Somehow it always seems to be summer and shirt sleeves in the Crinan Canal, an avenue of cloistered sunshine before facing the open sea of the Atlantic. By evening, all the boats are mustered in the Crinan Basin, ready to resume the race next day.
Here is the forecast for Scottish fishermen till 6 p.m. tomorrow. In the North Irish Sea and the North Channel, the wind will be northerly, force 4 or 5, backing northwesterly tomorrow. There will be occasional showers and visibility will be mainly good.
Well, every single boat at Crinan will have been listening a little anxiously to that forecast, because at the very glimmer of dawn tomorrow morning at 4:30 a.m., the second and major stage of this race will be starting for boats like the Lola here, the really testing stage from Crinan north to Tobermory in the Isle of Mull. And the reason for this unnervingly early start is quite simply the tide. We have to leave on the flood, because all the boats here will be relying on the tide to pull them through the rips and races of the Doris Moor to the northwest. That's Gaelic for the big gate. And once in the Doris Moor, particularly if the wind isn't very kindly, the boats are virtually at the mercy of the tide. Either it will sweep them north through the skerry-strewn Sound of Ling, which is where they want to go, or else suck them westwards towards the notorious whirlpools of the Gulf of Corryvreckan. This is the most spectacular and nerve-wracking stage of the race. But there's still a certain amount of time in hand, certainly time to go ashore and get properly prepared for whatever ordeals the morrow may bring. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. This time the Class 1 boats will be setting off last, chasing the rest of the field. It's a godless hour to be awake, but then some of them haven't even been to sleep yet. And there's a curious thrill about being in the thick of an armada, setting sail in the half-light of dawn.
Just went when you said it, is it?
No, I'm just going off my own watch.
Oh, I see.
I think it's slightly past the front of it.
When the gun goes, I'll give you a countdown on mine. Yeah, that's all you can do. Yeah.
Okay, hoist away. You got the sheets on?
Yes.
All the way.
They win. 2.
Slacken off that starboard sheet there, Southern. Starboard. Hey. We're a little early. There's St. Mary. We're starboard tack here, and they must give way to us. Boat and starboard tack is right away over a boat and port tack. There he's going round now.
It seems to me the start of these races is a tremendous guddle. What exactly are you trying to do?
Well, guddle's not quite the description. We're all trying to aim at going over this line, literally, a split second after the gun goes. And it's not always terribly easy to do.
We're losing way fast. I reckon we can go for it.
The boat pretty well controlled by this mizzen sail. It acts like a weather vane. Cocks the boat up into the wind. When I want to come off, away from the wind, I must loosen this sail off, or she won't come round, literally, even with the helm.
35 to go. We've certainly dominated Lola. All right, dear. 30 to go. Right, stop.
Oh, St. Mary's in the rock again.
Yeah. Cheat in, everybody. Cheat in.
St. Mary's stuck, is she?
Yes, she's hit a rock there, just too close.
Get to load, everybody. Get down that side. Sheet in. Yeah. He's off the main boat.
Will she get off all right?
Oh, yes. It wasn't going very fast there.
Now, you're third across the line, David. Is that pretty good?
Oh, that's very good indeed. That's a good start in a big class like this. The wind, unfortunately, is very light for us. We can do with a lot more wind. You see, we're a fairly heavy boat.
What kind of force is it?
Oh, force 1 to 2.
Uh-huh.
Little or nothing. How's that Genoa drawing, Sutherland?
Okay, she's fine.
With the Class 3 and Class 2 boats away, the Class 1 yachts begin jilling about for position on the starting line. This time, Kenny Gall and Christina finds himself much better placed, right at the windward end of the line. With seconds to go, he sees a gap and runs for the line. As the gun goes, he climbs past the weather bows of his rivals and forges ahead into a clear lead over the other 8 meters.
In? Right. Okay.
10 minutes in front, the Class 2 boats are heading busily for the Doris Moor with the 8 meters streaming along in pursuit. On Lola, David Rombach is moving into the tide races of the Big Gate.
David, what's so difficult about the Doris Moor?
The tremendous force of this tide. You see how I'm heaving on this hill? This tide's running about 7 or 8 knots just now, and we're trying to beat to windward and hold a course. And the tide's just plucking at me like a gigantic hand. You can see the force of the tide just now with these swirls that are going on around us. And it's very, very hard to hold anything like the course you want.
What makes the tide behave in this way?
Well, it's the narrow gap between the islands. Get this all up this Hebridean chain. The tide is coming in from the Atlantic and hitting this chain of islands with narrow gaps. And of course it forms a pressure head because it can't come through the gaps fast enough.
How's it going now, David? Are we doing well?
Doing very well indeed. We're in the tidal race off Ladder Lighthouse now, and it's a very strong one again, as you can see.
How fast do you think we're going?
Well, it's terribly hard to judge. Our log there is quite useless. The tide's running so hard that it's showing at the present time, what, 4 knots, and I think we're going over the ground with the aid of the tide about at 10 knots at the present time.
That's about the fastest this boat ever does, I suppose.
Oh, yes, it'd be about the fastest.
And what about St. Mary? Where do you think she is?
I can't see her anywhere, Magnus. It's an awful sin. What hellish bad luck hitting that rock. Really, it's...
Away at the back of the field, St. Mary has at last managed to prise herself off the rock where she had struck. Being alone is no new experience for Ian Nicholson. He sailed the Atlantic once in a boat he built in Canada, and it was with the accumulated experience of that voyage that he built St. Mary to his own specifications. Now he's sailing furiously in pursuit of the rest of the pack.
Easy, right.
Okay.
Right. Too much sun, so looking into it makes it very difficult to see the water at all.
Remarkable the shape of the water.
Thank you. I hope there's no more rocks out here. Had my fill for 10 years. Right, now, are we going? The mizzen's not working very hard. We've got a long way to catch up on Lola. 17 minutes she took when we went on the ground. And these conditions will suit her, you know.
Yes.
But they suit the low, sleek 8 meters like Christina even better. Kenny Gall, intent on maintaining his advantage on the weather side of his rivals, is soon slicing through the scattered Class 2 boats ploughing over the Doris Moor, and is past us on Lola almost before we realize it.
David, these 8 meters seem to be going past us like lightning.
Yes, these are the greyhounds of the ocean. That's Christina. Number 16, who's in the lead there just now, with Silja behind her. They're going like bombs. Beautiful boats. The difference between us and them is a sports car and a lorry. Lovely things. But they're not really cruising boats, you know, in the sense that we are. They haven't the comfort we have.
It's taken about 2 hours for them to catch up on us. Is that about normal?
Yes, in this weight of wind.
Inside the Sound of Mull, long before the tide turns, Kenny Gall and Christina wins the long tacking duel with his rivals of the first leg, Celia and If, and begins to pull away.
Aye, red spinnaker, nice flat cut spinnaker, fast in very tight, and I think we might slink along the Mull shore there.
Ian Nicholson on St. Mary is making up lost time fast, sailing as hard as he knows. As he pushes out of the last tide races at Plada and moves into the open water of the Firth of Lorne, the bulk of the fleet is spreading along the Mull shore, and Nicholson has them in his sights. But getting into the Sound of Mull itself has its problems. With the tide now turning, the boats are having to tack furiously to give themselves sea room in which to point at their destination, only to be pushed off course and have to go about once again and take another long beat to windward. A frustrating 2 hours of knocking at the door of the Sound and failing to get in. At this stage, it's all tack and tack and tack again across the blue water of the Firth. It's not until we get past Stewart, past Lismore Lighthouse and into the Sound itself, that David Rombach, that most affable and easygoing of sailors, will be able to settle back to enjoy his outing again.
How often have you done it now, the Tobermory?
Oh, 14 or 15 times probably.
What is it about sailing that you like so much?
Very hard to tell you that. It's a way of life, really. There's a constant challenge in it. There's more thrill in doing 6 knots to windward in a yacht than there is in doing 80 miles an hour in a car. Would you like to take this for a minute?
Right.
I'd like a cigarette. Now,
Well, hold it there.
you're on the wind just now. You've got to keep a little pressure on the tiller there. Just ease slightly. You're working in opposites. When you pull the tiller to port, the bow goes to starboard. If you just keep your eye up and down on the burgee there and feel the weight of the tiller, listen for the sails. If you hear that general starting to flap, then you're getting too close up to the wind. Ease her off slightly. You're doing fine. Just keep your eye on the burgee.
You feel the whole boat through this.
You do, don't you?
Marvellous.
Very sensitive.
Aye.
Done like a 3-hour, you know, practice.
Ian Nicholson on St. Mary is still well behind the leaders, but at least he's back in the race now. Slowly and steadily, he's edging through the field, overhauling the slower Class 3 boats one by one, tucking his rivals under his stern. Way, way ahead, Christina is still working furiously to hold her lead and is now approaching the finish. Once again, it was If that made a late dash for home on the other side of the Sound. But at the last moment, she had to tack in order to clear Carve Island at the entrance to Tobermory Bay. and Christina now rounds a point in triumph well in front. They've taken nearly 10 hours to cover the 50 miles from Crinan, and now at last they see the little island township of Tobermory beckoning them home. Nothing and no one can hold Christina now. Safely inside Tobermory Bay, she can just see the tip of If's sail appearing over Carve Island like a shark's fin. Christina is home and dry. So Christina is first over the line. And that, to Kenny Gall, is all that matters. He only took up yachting 5 years ago, a fine achievement. For him, the race is all. But for the amateurs like David Rumbach, racing takes second place to plain sailing.
Would you say that these are the best waters you've sailed in, the Kyles, the west coast, up the islands here?
Oh, well, they have for me an intense charm. I have a feeling for the west of Scotland here. To me, there's something changeless about it, particularly when you go further out to the Hebrides. Some of the oldest rock in the world, you know, the basalt of the Hebrides is extremely old. And to me, they have this feeling that eons of time have passed and nothing has changed, and nothing ever will change about them. And there's a charm about it in this fast-changing world of today.
Well, what about this fast-changing wind? What should I be doing now?
Well, just come up, take it a wee bit more to port, just a little.
It's this way.
Behind us, Ian Nicholson's tribulations aren't over yet. Sailing as furiously as ever, he meets a tide race opposite Green Island and finds himself making no headway at all, having to run hard to avoid going backwards.
Here's the wind, right, bear away.
But while St. Mary is struggling through the glue pot at Green Island, Lola is coasting us home into Tobermory Bay. A deceptive sailor, this David Rumbach. Maybe he was trying a lot harder all the time than he made out, which is as it should be, for Lola, on which he's lavished every spare moment of his life since he bought her last year, is a pre-war gentleman's yacht built of the finest wood and a lot faster than you might expect.
You can come in round, Ian.
Right, just a second.
Clear that side, clear the port side.
Now Ian Nicholson on St. Mary is making his last run for home, dicing with half a dozen other boats of his class that he's overhauled on the final stretch. It's an unrelenting struggle, tack for tack, but coming up to Carve Island, St. Mary just has it by a whisker.
What? Starboard, starboard.
I'm coming. Yeah, that's why I couldn't come in anymore.
Yeah, okay.
Can you bump her in a bit?
Yeah.
That's right, right against the cross-tree. Pump it against the cross-tree, that's right. That's right.
And then, suddenly, a final misfortune for St. Mary.
The wind's going lighter all the time.
Oh, blast.
Right on the line, St. Mary runs out of wind and just stops dead in her tracks. And the other boat she has fought so hard to beat simply walked past her. That's the Tobermory Race for you. But win or lose, they're now all set for a fortnight's family cruising off the west of Scotland, which after all is what the Tobermory Race is really all about.